Hi all, let's continue our series on outrageous and amazing resources found in post-mortem analysis. And I want to take these from games I'm playing in Blitz actually. That's original material, playing a lot of Blitz recently. This is from a recent ICC Banter Blitz on the Friday just gone. I had a great position here after bishop c2. I thought this was nearly all over, because how was black going to defend against the crude mate g6, queen h4, and probing, creating weaknesses all the time. So black played f5. I really thought it was all over here. Queen takes e6 check, king h8, and then we reach a critical position, kind of. Now I played something which was very tempting indeed, and there is a really accurate way to proceed here, and I found it fascinating to think about this, how what I played wasn't totally convincing. So my challenge to you is to find the most accurate way of finishing black off in this position, and I'll go over what seems to be the most accurate and some maybe some intuitive conclusions from that as well we might be able to use for our own other games in general. So if I give you 5 seconds here to pause the video, you might want to analyze this position in depth and find the most accurate move that you think is available to white in this position. Okay, so 5 seconds starting from now. Okay, now it's very tempting just to try and exploit the pin immediately, this pin here with queen takes h6 check. So great if you've seen that, and it's very exciting looking, and that is actually what I played. But it turns out that actually from an engine perspective, the strongest move is the surprising looking c5, but it really does do a lot of things. c5, it opens up this diagonal. You see this light square bishop can potentially use this diagonal, and it's very difficult for black to do anything here. It basically makes queen takes h6 check not just dangerous but virtually like deadly, and it's very interesting, I thought, from the perspective of king safety in general, what we understand of king safety, that it's not really just your heavy pieces around the opponent's king, it's the ability of the opponent's heavy pieces to come to the rescue. And this move has implications for that bit, coming to the rescue, because with this bishop coming to the diagonal, let me show you just an example here. It takes queen takes h6, and it's great we've got the heavy pieces around, but they really would like to deliver queen takes g7. But here is this other bit about stopping the opponent's pieces coming to the rescue. There's bishop b3 check, and this is why this turns this pin into deadly status, basically, not just dangerous. If we're talking like elite statuses, if rook f7, yes, we can really terminate now with queen takes g7 mate. That's why this c5 is so accurate. But it got me thinking, what it actually got me thinking about was I've won many games with this notion I did pick up many years ago about celebrating pins rather than immediately exploiting them. And here is an example of actually celebrating a pin. Now, what does that mean? It means, in a way, we're aware of the really attractive direct immediate exploitation of a pin, but we use that to sort of take that ingredient and make something, a recipe with that ingredient. Like a good cook would take an ingredient which is nice in its own state, like chocolate, or make a chocolate cake. Not that I have had too many chocolate cakes recently, honest, but you know what I mean. The engines, though, they don't have our human tendency to be overexcited and drawn in by saying, "Oh, we've got a bit of chocolate here, eat it." No, the engines are saying, "Okay, there's this ingredient." They're looking at all the moves, and they end up with the most crushing, and it makes use of all the ingredients, And what can we learn? Well, intuitively, it really does create roadblocks for the queen to protect g7, basically. c5 is a really, really crushing move. I've got some other variations here. Knight d4, hitting the queen doesn't really help. We just take that. And this is just desperate. You know, this is absolutely desperate. Knight b5, hitting the queen here. That's totally gone. Yeah, this position's totally gone for black. So that's the line. So yes, c5. What does black do after c5? It's this idea. It struck me that you know, the interesting things. Bishop takes f1. Let's have a look at this. You know, this ingredient is very, very exciting, but combined with bishop b3 check, I guess it's the case also, you know, of the bishop pair working really together in a lethal combination. But it creates this roadblock here that the queen, you know, cannot defend. Yeah, black can delay mate basically. But yeah, the queen, you know, or rook, if they become pinned as well, bang, termination. So c5 is absolutely deadly. But really, it got me thinking about this notion of accuracy. How do we ever achieve, you know, greater engine accuracy? It seems we literally have to put away our human emotions and tendencies to be overexcited by the first ingredient that presents itself. And I wonder if that is the basis of something I picked up many years ago, that I see strong players, they don't like exploit pins immediately like winning material. They celebrate them. They use that ingredient to like win the whole game basically, virtually, from a pin. Pins can be absolutely deadly, and quite often it's their celebration, you know, like in this example really, it's the celebration of this pin to make a cake, you know, not just take the first ingredient. I think that's really what I wanted to get at with this example there. And you might think, well, it's a blitz game, yeah. And you could cynically say, well, if you spend too long trying to find some, you know, cake instead of just the first ingredient, you're going to lose on time. That is the case. You do have to balance, you know, the time requirements to play quickly. But and so there is a case, I guess, for longer time controls for increments to be able to find this sort of stuff. But you know, if you're an emotional person, basically, you're drawn to the first attractive things, then, you know, perhaps that's not the best trait for finding accurate moves. It requires this idea, a bit of patience, you know, making the cake instead of just the first thing. Now, let me just have a look at some other stuff. So this position was very, very exciting, and I just played this. So c5, we've looked at bishop takes f1. And yeah, I mean, everything seems to lose. Bishop takes c5, check, check. Yeah, you get the picture. It's absolutely crushing, basically. c5, king h7. There's bishop takes f5 check here. So it's pretty terminal. It's basically making, in a way, also not just about blocking the opponent's pieces from defending. It's in a way it's almost like a positional move anyway, because this bishop is given a lot of scope, new scope, along this sensitive diagonal. So it's kind of positional anyway for liberating bishops, and that is a common thing as well. That tactics also have kind of these immediate, you know, positional implications about pieces getting really kind of aggressive and not blocked in by their own pawn. So it's positional as well for this diagonal. Now, interestingly, the idea of blockage came up even with the game continuation as well. So on a passing note, let's have a look at the game continuation. You see here, I played queen h5, and this is really sinful as well. Even for blitz, I played a pre-move. And the pre-move also has this attitude of just being content with the first thing, you know, something. You're not making the chocolate cake, you're just content with eating a bit of chocolate and not making the cake. Because here, this pre-move was terrible, terrible. Because again, it doesn't really celebrate knight g5 that much. Knight g5, the queen unfortunately can be evicted, right, with queen f7. So if I had gone to h4, you know, this is much more dangerous. because, you know, queen f7, there's stuff like this, and knight g5, that's still on the cards. And if bishop e7, that blocks, you see that blocks the queen from there. So now queen h5 is actually more effective. This idea of blocking, so now this is quite dangerous. And also we're on f5. So say this position, we take on f5 with a really good position. So yeah, it seems as though, though, I think my main point, though, is from earlier, how as humans we're taking the first available attractive things quite often at the expense of playing the really truly accurate moves. So instead of eating all the chocolate before you do the chocolate cake, just think how magnificent the chocolate cake would be if you just, yeah, you got excited by the ingredients, but you still looked for the stronger stuff to make the whole chocolate cake. Okay, comments, questions, likes appreciated. Thanks very much.